great to be rejoined by this man. Justin Perri does tremendous work over at Shot Quality Bets. And Justin, I know that with regards to Shot Quality Bets, you guys are all set for what is going to be a tremendous college basketball season. So 3.5 weeks from now, we'll be able to break down those games. Instead, we've got ourselves a nice matchup out there in Kansas City between the Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. Broncos are in most places a 10.5 point underdog, seeing a couple 11s out there, a total of 47. I'm not sure what you make out of this game, but we have seen this total pile driven downward. A lot of it, I have to think, is due to the fact that we've been seeing the trends of these primetime unders hitting, but I sort of like the over here because the Broncos have actually been halfway decent on offense, and I can't think of a single unit in all of football that has fallen off a cliff more than this Denver Broncos defense.
Yeah, I think the number here is getting to a point where if you like the over at all early in the week, you're probably pretty tempted at this point. I do think that this Denver defense is liable to let up 30 points. The problem is, what is the offense really going to be able to muster? I'm not really too sold on this being a game where Denver gets to that 20-point threshold that they might need. You're probably counting on the Chiefs to do a lot of the legwork. So if you do like the over and you are leaning Chiefs, I think this is probably a place where you might look for the team total over for Kansas City. Again, this Denver Broncos defense has been one of the most porous units in football. It's been no joke. When your fantasy players are going up against Denver, you're excited. That's a matchup people have been targeting. And now you get the Chiefs who, they haven't had that crazy big, we're the Chiefs dropping 42 on a team type of thing. And the Dolphins put up 70. And I think there's always a little bit of a competition like that within the NFL. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're not looking to sort of smack down Sean Payton in his first year, welcome him to the AFC West. And, the Chiefs haven't lost to the Broncos in a long time. So unless we see something crazy and this game is something that the Broncos somehow figure out some magic and Mahomes has a couple tip passes and that go for interceptions or something that aren't his fault. I just don't see something crazy like that happening. So I'm looking more towards the Chiefs on a team total over than the game total because I would expect them to have to carry the total anyway.
And the team total right now I'm seeing is at right around 29.5 in a lot of places, give or take a little bit. And we shall see where that is going to be on game day. And I know this is a total that you're taking a look at as well. If you're out here on the West Coast like myself, make yourself a cup of coffee for 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, as it's the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans doing battle from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with Baltimore between a 4 and 4.5 point favorite, total saying between 40.5 and 41. And these are a pair of teams that have dealt with quite a few injuries. And for the Titans, this team just always seems to play bowling ball shoe ugly games. I could easily see this be a field goal game. I've honestly haven't hated what I've seen out of the Titans this far. And for the Ravens, just feels like it's been a lot of inconsistency.
Yeah, the Ravens, of course, when are they ever going to be healthy? You feel like this team can't get that right. And especially with their run first mentality, they really always seem to be missing these backs that they need. But nonetheless, they run the ball, and they run the ball a lot. They use Lamar Jackson's legs to move the chains, and that wastes a lot of clock. I've always been a Ravens under guy. I think traveling especially, there's going to be an emphasis on defense. These aren't teams like the Jags who are accustomed to this as much, and traveling is a pretty big deal in the NFL. You can definitely catch teams in bad travel spots. I was someone who watches teams coming home from big trips like this. Going east is always a little bit more difficult than going west. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I think you could definitely see these teams sort of flop. Titans have a lot of questions around them, right? We've seen Derrick Henry not be able to get going. Tajay Sharp seems to be the back of emphasis in some of these game scripts now. And I'm not really too sure if Hopkins is going to be able to recreate what he was able to do against the Colts. So I don't know who they're really going to get going. Burks is still not practicing. So yeah, I'm looking for the under in this game. I think the Ravens probably will pull this out, probably be able to cover, but under's my play. I do think this one will slow down and be pretty hard fought. Maybe look a little bit more like rugby scrums than NFL football products and high flying passing, because I haven't really seen that out of Lamar yet. So and Tannehill definitely a little bit of a concern in terms of air yardage.
And we certainly have been seeing a nice trend to the under with regards to these London games as well. As joining me on the show, we do have Justin Perri. He does tremendous work over at Shock Quality Bets right here on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And I know that you bet this one at a far better number. And this has been the biggest mover of the week because of the Cleveland Browns' not so great quarterback situation and the injury to Deshaun Watson. The 49ers open up as 3-point favorites, which even if you had Deshaun Watson, that feels low. Now you're finding this line at 7 with a total of 37 to 37.5. And with the 49ers, so they don't necessarily have that $50 million a year quarterback and everything like that. I mean, what Brock Purdy has been able to do has been nothing short of impressive. This is a Browns defense that in their own right is pretty solid. But how do you view this game now that we have seen it go up to the 49ers laying a full touchdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's reason to continue to lay it with the 49ers. Look, this isn't really an easy spot for them against this defense, but I'm just very concerned about the offense. Of course, there is no Nick Chubb. I think, there's still some expectation that Jerome Ford behind that line can be the same type of force, and I just have yet to see it from him, especially now with the quarterback situation not being as great. There's going to be a little bit more of sort of defensive emphasis coming from the 49ers, who already, good defense, stuffed up the Cowboys pretty hard. I think they should be able to stuff up the Browns. So I'd look for like a first half under. I'd be a little worried about the total kind of creeping over in the second half if 49ers start to figure things out. They're just so high flying in terms of what they have to offer. Christian McCaffrey is just no joke. I mean, he can get like 6-7 yards per carry on a drive, and all of a sudden, you're in your own red zone and you just blinked twice. And, Brandon Ayuk had a 25-yard catch. His numbers have been great. It looks like he's almost more effective than Debo right now, who's a little banged up, but it doesn't matter. They can get Kittle 3 touchdowns. I don't really know where you're turning. Cleveland's going to have their hands full. They're still really good. I think they can defend this team. So yeah, I like the first half under. If you like an under defensive play, expect 49ers to maybe open it up in the second half and cover and run away with it.
Feels like we've had an AFC North theme, so let's stick with it. You've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are coming off of Joe Burrow finally looking halfway decent, but as Graham Mitchell of Forbes put it on the show yesterday, he's pretty much a mailbox at this point in that he has no mobility whatsoever, which I had to laugh about that as well. That was very good phrasing right there. Quadruple A+ from me. But that said, with the Bengals, they're currently 3-point favorites with a total of 45 against the Seattle Seahawks. And do have to fear that this is a little bit of a body clock game for the Seattle Seahawks, but sans what we saw in week number 1, the Seahawks team has been rock solid. And for the Bengals, though they were able to get the win last week, I just still haven't liked what I've seen from this offense, and it's very clear that Burrow is still being affected by injury.
Yeah, I mean, and you also know where he's sending it, right? Like he's targeting Chase, and Chase kind of is that guy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Seahawks take care of him. They do have some good talent in that secondary, and they are talented everywhere else. I mean, I really like a lot of their players. They have a lot of good depth at wide receiver, even behind Lockett and DK, who are beasts. They have, JSN, and they have this guy Bobo now, who's a pretty fun story and looks like their third wideout. But they still have Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet as backs, and Geno Smith is going to keep them in this game. Coming off the bye week, getting a full field goal here, I'm looking at the Seahawks. Honestly, I don't really trust this, but I would definitely look to the over. Both these teams can pass, throw, have good talent everywhere. I don't know who's really going to stop who, but I wouldn't be shocked. This is one of those games that we're watching in like the fourth quarter and see some high flying plays, some chunk plays. So I lean over, and I like taking the points by default.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I do think that we've got ourselves a nice week in the NFL. And Justin, you do tremendous work looking at baseball, looking obviously at college basketball, football, list goes on, and your time is always appreciated on the show. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, Greg. Looking forward to coming back soon, and hope you have a good week in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is going to be a tremendous week. Justin does a great job of being able to break it all down.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.